Morning has broken, and we're your consecrated hosts.
I'm Father Jeff, consecrated by holy orders.
And I'm Jonathan, consecrated by baptism.
We promise to be mostly holy this morning, slightly irreverent, but hopefully entertaining. Jonathan, we decided that we were going to do this today because people are at home, they're stuck in coronavirus lockdown, and need some community time.
Well, hopefully we can help out with that and do something for them. What I'm going to do really quick is welcome everyone.
Welcome. Hello.
And we need to set this up so we can receive any questions, any comments, anything that people at home are doing. We want to know how you're getting through this epidemic.
We'll follow you when you type your questions here on Facebook. We'll follow you. We will respond to them as best we can. We've got some topics that we're going to be covering today.
And I need to turn the volume down on this guy.
Jonathan is dealing with technical difficulties for sure.
We should be good to go. That video is delayed, so...
We got delayed video. Yeah.
But,
okay,
we're here.
Well, today is basically the second day of coronavirus lockdown. We've been told to shelter in place or to avoid crowds. We are here to fill in that space. Oh, hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer.
And be sure to stay away from me, Father.
Also note we are keeping our recommended 6-foot distance or so between the two of us. Today, St. Cyril of Jerusalem. Let's talk about St. Cyril. Today is March 18th. St. Cyril of Jerusalem is the saint that we have today. And St. Cyril, you know, he was one of these guys we don't know a whole lot about.
I don't know anything about him.
You don't know anything about him. Well, that does not surprise me. St. Cyril of Jerusalem is 4th century bishop. He was in Jerusalem, obviously, by the name, St. Cyril of Jerusalem. And he was known for a lot of his writings to the catechumens, to those people who were newly baptized. And as such, we are able to learn a lot from what the early church was about and how people came to the sacraments, how people experienced the sacraments. And even though he wasn't always a popular guy with the leadership at the time, nevertheless, he held the course when it came to the faith, a faith we've inherited today, Jonathan.
Wow. So you said 3rd or 4th century?
Yeah, he in the 300s. So
300s.
Right about that time when Christianity was finding its legal status in the world.
There's a lot that happened right around there, right?
There's a lot that happened. The Edict of Milan was issued, and Christianity was no longer outlawed, and Christianity would eventually become the official religion of the state, of the empire under Constantine. But Jerusalem was still a hot mess, as it still is.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. I don't know if everybody knows who you are, Jonathan.
I guess I've been coming on here and posting different things and really...
Who is this guy? Y'all know, hopefully you know me, and if you don't, hi, I'm Father Jeff. I'm the pastor of St. Charles Borromeo here in Omaha, Nebraska, or Gretna, Nebraska, on the very west end of Omaha. And Jonathan is our Director of Evangelization and Discipleship.
Who knows what that means, but he gave me the job, so I'll take it. No.
How long has that been?
I've been here
2 years?
Coming up on 2 years.
2 years, and what have you done?
Yeah. So, I started off by helping get the youth group program going forward, and did that for... Is this 3 years?
It might be 3 years.
I think it's 3 years, because I did that for a full year, went to a Steubenville, then did almost another year, and then handed the reins off to Sarah last spring. Then did another Steubenville, and once I handed the reins off to Sarah, we've been kind of working on what we've been calling a clear path of discipleship for the parish, which is something that you guys haven't seen too much of, but it's something that's just been in the works. And because of the unique situation of St. Charles, we're able to kind of move things faster along, and hopefully the pastoral council of the parish pastoral council has been very integral in a lot of what I'm doing and seeing the vision of where we need to head as a parish. So right now we've been doing that. We've been working on a retreat that has now been canceled twice. Canceled. One was supposed to be in January, and that was going to be kind of an in-house retreat for everybody, all the leaders that could lead it for the open parish. And then we were going to have the second one in April, which the coronavirus has canceled,
killed it.
just like it's killed a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so yeah, right
Okay.
now, I also did the website. So if you were here 3 years ago and saw the old website, Father Jeff and I, we rebuilt the website, and hopefully it's a lot more engaging. If you guys have any recommendations or things that you'd like to see on the website or in the parish, whether it's Bible studies, group activities, hopefully that are spiritual, we want to help you out.
Awesome. So here we are, trying to provide a little respite from maybe the abnormalities that you're experiencing during this time of coronavirus. That we're right now kind of in this time period where we're supposed to limit our social interactions, keep ourselves at home, maintain social distancing, all of those sorts of things. And in so doing, we are trying to provide that sense of community. There's nothing more deadly, I think, to the faith community when we are separated from one another. Ultimately, that is what the evil one wants to do. The evil one wants to get into the church, get into the community, and begin sowing seeds of division. And so the church's response always is to try to undo the division. What can we do to keep the division from happening? And things like this, we're even using modern technology to help bridge the gap. So maybe you're not able to go to your Bible studies, or maybe you're not able to meet in the prayer groups that you've been meeting in, or even, heck, Sunday Mass or daily Mass. In many places around the country, like here in the Archdiocese of Omaha, communal celebrations of the sacraments and other liturgies have been suppressed. And so we don't really have the opportunity to even get together and pray like that as a visible family. And
maybe I'll throw you a little bit of a curveball, but I think the devil does want to work in isolation. In any of our sins, he wants us to think we're the only ones that are suffering from this, that, you know, whether it's addiction of some sort or it's just habitual lying or whatever it is, the devil wants us to think we're the only ones, and he doesn't want it to come to light, because if it stays in the darkness, God's not going to bring any healing. And so this is a perfect time. The devil is licking his chops saying, what can I do? How can I hurt people? How can I impact people? How can I draw them away from God? Because that's what he wants right now. And that's why it's so important for us to maintain this community.
Absolutely. And I remember John Paul II, St. John Paul, once said, he wrote that perhaps one of the greatest dangers to modern society is the atomization of society. That we are spread out. Like if you think of an atomizer, you know, like a perfume bottle that squirts the perfume, or a spray bottle, all of it turns into mist and it is separated, and what was a liquid now is spread out. And John Paul II cautioned that was the greatest danger to society today, that there would be an atomization. It happens through technology, where we don't have to encounter people anymore.
Smartphones.
It happens in the distancing. I mean, in things like this, when we are quarantined from one another. But any time that the evil one can get in and create divisions, we have to try to overcome that. So a few ways that we do that is by using technology now. The very thing that might separate people, with our faces all in our phones, now can be the very thing that unites us. Hey, Spy Saint Patrick, thanks for the compliment on the sweater.
We are getting a lot of comments, and we are not seeing them.
And they're not coming up on our screen. So, Jonathan, why don't you fix that technical difficulty?
I'll let you ramble.
I can ramble. I'm good. I am so good at rambling and talking while other people are doing something else. So, Jonathan, you go ahead and try to fix our comment bar there.
Our youth minister, Sarah, is on.
Hey, Sarah, how are you?
We've got a bunch of people. Is it hopefully loading now?
Yeah, it's coming. So as your comments come in on Facebook, we'll try to respond to them and have a dialogue and answer them. And we'll try to talk about what we can do in the meantime to keep ourselves going in these trying times.
Sounds good.
Jonathan.
Uh-oh.
You've got 2 boys at home.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
a little girl.
And a little girl. But, you know, she's just a sweetheart.
That
your
was
little
up
boys
until I don't know what time, because she's teething. So
oh, yeah.
it's fun.
Praise be to God
Hi,
for
Genevieve,
celibacy.
if you're watching.
Hi, Genevieve.
Praise God for
Praise God for celibacy. So, what do you do to keep the kids from going crazy?
I think I'll just talk about my son Joshua. He's 5 and has energy. Since he was a baby, he's had energy and is go, 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 go until he's exhausted and passes out, basically. And for him, he's always needed some kind of a structured activity. So turning on the screen for hours on end does not work, and it's not good. Frankly, it's probably not good. We use screen time. I'm not against screen time. Sometimes it's necessary for mental health.
Sure.
But if we give him an activity to do, hey, color this picture, or hey, let's build a tower with these blocks that Jim is about to knock down because she's into that right now. Any kind of structured activity. And so maybe you have to get creative. I know there's tons of people posting things online of different things that they're experts at, whether it's math or other things like that. So for school things, helping them learn is a great opportunity right now. When you have them and you need something for them to do, why not make it constructive so that they can actually learn and do something great?
Here's an idea. So I think that this is something that you can do as families, and this is something that you should always do, is maybe put together a spiritual survival kit. And the question then is, Father, what is a spiritual survivor kit? Jonathan is once again kind of updating our comment section so that we can see. We've got people listening here from all over, and that's great. Molly, we like to see that that we could do this on normal weeks we could stream
the night prayer on Facebook.
Absolutely, we can do all sorts of things here to help join people together. Whether it's our prayer, whether it's our time together, the community time like we're having now, just ways to connect with one another. But a survival kit. What should you have in your home to be spiritually ready for whatever? Number one, Jonathan.
A crucifix.
Crucifix.
Look at that guy.
This is
I
Jonathan's
got this
crucifix.
at Gloria Deo. I had to save up because this was a little bit
Because we
expensive.
don't pay him that much. That's what he's saying.
That's the truth. But a crucifix, it doesn't have to be this nice. It doesn't have to be this large. This is a pretty large crucifix. But a crucifix, what is the crucifix? What is this? Why? What's the significance of a crucifix?
St. John the 23rd one time reflected that the crucifix, when he would wake up in the middle of the night, troubled by the problems of the world, he would look up and see the crucifix, and it would comfort him. And he remarked that the crucifix is the sign of God's love for us. So that when we feel alone, when we feel troubled, when we feel whatever, the crucifix becomes God's sign of his love for us. This is how far God's love goes. So the crucifix is a sign of God's love, and that repels the evil one, and it gives us comfort. So a crucifix, whether you have it hanging on your wall, whether you wear one around your neck, whether you've got one in your pocket, a crucifix is a good thing to have in your survival kit.
One thing I've always thought interesting is at the time when they did crucifixions, it was a sign of horror. The cross was something that terrified people, and for us as Catholics and Christians, it's a sign of hope.
Absolutely.
And so it's just amazing how God can turn something so horrible and awful and really bring something beautiful out of it.
And that, really, that's a good reflection even for this time of global outbreak of COVID-19, that we can look at this time as being a time of evil and a time that isolates and a time that is negative. Absolutely. But then the evil one has won. What we want to do is we can take this moment in our history and we can bring something good out of it. We can bring the graces out of it. We can bring the goodness out of it, and we can go forward with that.
We have someone joining us from Morocco.
I see that. Hello, Morocco.
That's pretty crazy to think that, this little community.
We are a global church. We are a global church, and Catholics are united everywhere, and we cannot ever forget that. So welcome to everyone who is here.
Yeah.
Okay, next thing.
Holy Bible.
The Holy Bible. When the bread of life is not as available to us, when we cannot receive Holy Communion because we are homebound, or because the communal celebration of the sacraments has been suspended for health reasons, that doesn't mean the church has been suspended, and that doesn't mean our prayer has been suspended, and that doesn't mean we can't access the tabernacle between these covers. That in here is the Word of God, and it was the Word of God that was made flesh, and it was that flesh that we receive in the Holy Eucharist. And so if you have this at your house, dust it off, take it off of its shelf, get it off of the coffee table, open it up, read it. This is, as I've said once before, this is the tabernacle in your home. This is where the Lord dwells, ready to meet you daily. So to have the Holy Scriptures and to use them. Do you pray with the Scriptures, Jonathan?
I do.
How do you pray with the Scriptures?
So there's two forms, and I like to combine them. There's Lectio Divina, which you read, and there's multiple ways that it has been taught. But basically, you read the Word of God. I tend to use the New Testament because that's narrative, and if you're in Numbers or something like that, and it's hard to really draw things out from that sometimes.
Unless you're a math person, the book of Numbers isn't really your thing.
But you read the Scripture. The one I use all the time to explain it is Jesus walking on water. And you say, okay, well, why did Peter fall? You start asking your questions. That's the line that stuck out to me. You find a line that sticks out to you, and then you just start wrestling with it and say, well, why did he fall? Well, because, maybe he feared or maybe he doubted. And then as you pray with it, you say, well, when do I doubt? Or when do I fear? When do I think that God's not going to sustain me? And you find things in your life that you can adjust, and through it, you just realize that those words that are coming through the Bible are actually Jesus speaking to us personally and saying, do not be afraid. How many times does Jesus say that in the Scripture? Countless times. And we say, okay, well, what can I do to not be a little bit afraid? Next time I encounter this situation, how can I handle it differently to trust in God more instead of relying on myself or relying on other things?
And this is what you're praying about.
And this is
you're
constant
reading the
prayer.
Scriptures. You're praying these things, you're thinking about them, and you're paying attention to what's going on, not just in your head, but also what's going on here in your heart and your gut.
Right. And I like to mix that sometimes with Ignatian meditation, which actually puts you in the boat. You can be any character. I usually say not be Jesus because we cannot experience what Jesus did, but you can be a fly on the wall. You can be in the boat. You could be Peter. And so with Ignatian meditation, you smell the sea. You feel the splashing of the waters and the storm and you really get into the atmosphere.
What if you get seasick? I'm sorry.
Then you've gone too far. You need to take the virtual reality goggles off.
Take a breath. Then that is a sign that is not the Holy Spirit talking to you, and you need to go down a different path. It's important to pay attention to what's going on.
But when you can really put yourself, that made the Scriptures come alive
Absolutely.
to me. I was really bad at reading Scripture and praying with Scripture until those methods were introduced to me, because this could just be a fairy tale. How does this deal with me? I mean, we know about Jesus and the miracles. Well, we see superheroes do miracles and other things all the time. But walking on water, come on. Raising from the dead? No, that doesn't happen unless you have, in the hospital, clear.
Yeah.
But these are things that really happened. And he wants to raise us from the dead. Maybe physically, but most likely spiritually. He wants to raise us from the dead. And those are things we can draw from the Scriptures.
Absolutely.
And so, throughout the whole New Testament, and I like the New Testament because all the New Testament is about evangelization and discipleship. So it's a plug for my job.
Plug for his
job.
But
it really is. It's the call. The last thing that Jesus said, going on a tangent here, was go forth and make disciples of all nations, baptizing in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. That's what we are all called to do. How do we know how to do that? We read the New Testament, because that is, the church started with one person, Jesus. Then he had his 12 apostles. 2,000 years later, I don't know how many Catholics we have, but there's a lot.
1/7 of the world's population.
A 1/7 of the world's population. So
give or take. And then there's other Christians and the Orthodox, and so it is full. So we got our crucifix, we got our Bible. Do you want to update our screen here, Jonathan? For some reason, we're having some technical difficulties, and we're not able to keep up with your comments and your questions. And I'm sorry about that, because I wanted to respond to them, but they're not coming through as well as they should. We'll be better for tomorrow. This is only the first time out of the gate. Crucifix, Bible, these are in our spiritual, what did I call it? Box of tricks.
That's what we'll call it now.
Survival kit.
Survival kit.
There we go.
It's written on the board over there.
A rosary. A rosary is one of the most powerful spiritual weapons that we have. The rosary is it is our way of uniting ourselves with the Blessed Virgin Mary, the perfect disciple of Jesus Christ, and it is a way of going through his whole life, death, and resurrection to walk with him. And this complements Scripture. Most people they don't know and realize that the rosary really flows out of a scriptural prayer. That as we go through this, the very words of the Hail Mary are the words that were spoken to the Virgin in the Gospel of St. Luke. The Our Fathers, the words that Jesus himself gave us. The mysteries of the rosary are the gospel stories unfolded for us. So when we pray the rosary, we are praying Scripture, and we are entering into that word.
Father Jeff, I get distracted when I'm praying the rosary.
That's because you are a human being, Jonathan.
I am a human?
You are a human being.
And so is that okay?
It is okay. So what happens, there are different ways that you can do this. You might find your mind wandering. That's okay. You might be uncertain of did I pray those beads? Did I forget? Oh my gosh, I lost track. One of the things that I like to do when I pray the rosary is I'm going along, I try to repeat the mystery in the middle of the Hail Mary. Now this works when I'm doing a personal rosary. So for example, if I was praying the third mystery, or the third glorious mystery, Pentecost. The Holy Spirit descends upon the apostles. I would say, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus, who promised to send the Holy Spirit. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. And throughout that whole decade, I insert the little reminder of what that mystery is. And it just helps me to stay consciously focused on what it is that I'm praying.
Yeah, I also have a little book that's called the Scriptural Rosary.
Mm-hmm. These are helpful too.
Takes you through the whole mystery with each Hail Mary, if I remember correctly. I'll try to bring that someday.
Yes.
And we can pray the Scriptural Rosary together. And that has helped me. Because usually I'll just pray and go through, and it's still good, it's fruitful.
Absolutely.
Do you get graces from it even
you get
if
graces? Here's the beautiful thing about this. This is one of the most graced prayers that the Church possesses. And in fact, the Holy Mother Church attaches a plenary indulgence to the praying of the Rosary. So if you pray the Rosary if you recite the Rosary in a church, that is graced with a plenary indulgence, a full and total remission for all temporal punishments. If you pray a Rosary in your household with your family, and you recite it there, that also is a graced moment. So all of you at home with your spouses and your kids, your husbands, your wives, pray the Rosary together in your home and intend that plenary indulgence, and the graces just pour out upon you.
We have someone joining us from California. Catherine, welcome.
Hi, Catherine. Hello, California. It's a little earlier out there.
We are planning, Stacy, to lead the Rosary virtually. Right now it looks like we'll try to do it every Monday through Thursday at 3 p.m. We might mix in a couple of Chaplet of Divine Mercies, and we'll give a little bit of teaching on that as well.
Absolutely. We're trying to find different ways. There's been, for kind of being rather quiet around the parish office these days, there has been an incredible amount of things going on and to do just to kind of get us in a place now to be ready for, oh my gosh, everything's been cut off. Because when you can't celebrate the Eucharist together, that's huge. That strikes at the very core of who a Catholic is. I think we appreciate so much more now the Sunday liturgy, the Sunday Mass, and if you're a daily communicant, that absence that is in your life. And so one of the ways that we want to address that is through a spiritual communion. So we are live streaming Holy Mass every day, Monday through Saturday at 12 noon. So I will celebrate Mass here in our parish church, and you can join us for that and be a part of that. and not in person, but virtually. And as we come to that moment of communion, to pray a spiritual communion, to make a spiritual communion. And one of the beautiful things about a spiritual communion, again, Pope St. John Paul II reminds us that all the graces necessary for your state in life, when you are unable to receive Holy Communion sacramentally, God can make present to you and for you in extraordinary means. And so that spiritual communion can have the same efficacy and the same graces for you if you need it. God's going to give you whatever you ask for.
Sean Finner, and we can maybe come back to it. He asked if you could speak into how the church has historically responded to widespread diseases like the plague. So maybe we can come back to that.
Okay, we will. We'll maybe close with that today.
We do have Jackie. If you are listening or available, if you could post the spiritual communion. Father Jeff sent one out. Is it reversed?
It might be.
It looks like
Jonathan can't tell if he's reading forwards or backwards. What do you have in your cup here? Oh, by the way, thanks, Chris. My cup is definitely greater than Jonathan's cup because I am your father.
Well, I don't like coffee.
You don't need to tell us what's in there, Jonathan. Let's go on with our spiritual survival kit.
Okay, really quick, the spiritual communion. We will be posting it. Another copy of this. It's been sent out, and we will try to recite it during masses.
Perfect.
Spiritual survival kit. Someone actually jumped the gun. Lisa McDermott.
Lisa!
I don't know what this is about. Father Jeff handed me the salt and said,
Salt.
Here,
it
take
should
this.
be in your spiritual kit. Spiritual survivor kit.
And I don't understand.
Show of hands out there. How many of you have blessed salt in your home?
If you have blessed salt, like right now. We can see those coming up, at least.
You have blessed salt in your homes?
So push like.
All right. What the heck is blessed salt? Have I ever heard of blessed salt? How do I get blessed salt? You cannot buy it in the store. It's just like toilet paper. It's not going to be found there. And so blessed salt, you just get ordinary salt. It doesn't matter if it's sea salt. It doesn't matter if it's kosher salt. It doesn't. Kosher salt's kind of cool in this case. But it doesn't really matter what kind of salt it is. You bring that to your priest and ask him to bless it. And the blessing of salt really has a sort of exorcistic element to it, that we exorcise the salt as we bless it. And salt itself has always been seen as a sacramental in the church, as a way to drive away the evil one. Now think about it. People salted their food before refrigeration as a way to preserve it. So they saw the salt as that which kept decay and evil and nastiness away. And so the church has taken up salt then spiritually as a way to keep away nastiness and decay and the evil one. So we pray a blessing over the salt, and I know people who bake with it then, who sprinkle it around their homes, who keep it in the cupboard. This is where the tradition of tossing salt over your left shoulder comes from. Because you did not know that, did you, Jonathan? He's working on the technical stuff behind the scenes right now.
I had no clue that that's what that came from.
That is where it comes from. Because remember, you've all seen those cartoons where the little angel sits on the right shoulder and the little devil sits on the left shoulder. The left side was seen as the diabolical side where the evil one would tempt you. And so to keep him away, you would take the blessed salt and throw it over your left shoulder to drive away the demon. And so we use blessed salt today as a sort of exorcism.
Chris Poutre, who's got 4 rambunctious boys, says he throws it at his kids. Does
Hey.
it work as a blessing?
It does work as a blessing. It does work as a blessing. That the salt does work as a blessing, and that is probably a wise thing to do. So if you see the Poutre kids coming around, have a handful of blessed salt ready to go. And maybe if you see Chris coming around. He's a little shady too.
All right. I found the issue. We can now read comments
Oh,
live.
beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Lisa also reminds us to sprinkle the salt around the perimeter of your home. In the annual blessing of homes, I always bless my home every year, and I mix the salt into the holy water. And so, Jonathan, you've got another item over there, a bottle of holy water. And so if you get some holy water, you don't need this fancy bottle. You can just empty one of your drinking bottles, reuse it, great for the environment, and put holy water in it from your church, put a big cross on it, take it home, and have holy water in your house. Sprinkle some mixed salt and some blessed salt in there, which I do anyway. So if you come to St. Charles here and you get the water from the urn, it is already exorcised and blessed. So I exorcise the water, I exorcise the salt, and then I mix them and bless them together. It's a process.
Wow. And you said you change that out every week, generally?
No.
No.
We change this holy water stoops.
The stoops.
So when you come in and you dip your hand into the holy water, at least here, we refresh that water weekly because you want it to be fresh. But the water in the urn, the dispenser in the back of church, is replaced as soon as it runs dry.
All right.
What
We're
else
getting a lot more interaction now.
What else are you fingering there, Jonathan?
This is a scapular, a brown scapular, because there are different colors that mean different things. I will bring it a little bit closer.
Absolutely. This has an interesting history too. Let me tell you a little bit about the scapular. So this is a brown scapular, and this is a mini version of the scapular. So I want you to picture a monk or a nun in full habit right now in your head. And in fact, Jonathan, you see that statue of St. Dominic over there? Would you bring him over to me? A scapular is actually part of the religious habit. So if you look at St. Dominic here, you'll see this piece of cloth that he's wearing over the white robe. This thin apron-like piece of cloth that goes from shoulder down to almost ankle, that is a scapular. A scapular is part of the religious habit worn by the holy men and women who wear habits. And the scapular is this long thing that is worn over their habit. The laity wanted to practice the spirituality of the consecrated religious. And so one of the things that they did was provide a mini version of the scapular for those who were not in the religious community. So if you, as a layman or a laywoman, wanted to join and unite yourself to the spirituality of the saint, or of the religious community rather, you would get a small version of 2 pieces of cloth, one that can hang over the front, one that hangs over the back, that models the longer version that we see on religious habits. So if you get a scapular, it is not a talisman, it is not a get into heaven free card, it is not something that if you wear it you will not go to hell. Those are all superstitious practices. The scapular, sorry, but it does have benefit because it reminds us to clothe ourselves in Christ. And if you are clothed in Christ, that affects your behaviors and your virtue, and that is what brings you into heaven. So if you adopt the scapular, the brown scapular, for instance, belongs to the spirituality of the Carmelite order. And so those who wear the brown scapular are invested into the spirituality of the Carmelite order. And there are certain daily practices then that they are supposed to do, praying the Hail Mary at least 3 times a day, and so on and so forth. And so it's not something that you just run out to the store and buy. It's something that you spiritually prepare for, and then ask your priest, or if there is a religious house nearby, ask them to invest you in it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Genevieve, you're online. Hello.
Is that your wife, Jonathan?
That is my wife.
Oh, there you are, Genevieve. Hello.
I'm making a saint of her every day.
But no, I think that is the reverse. She is making a saint of you every day.
Is there any other spiritual, what are we calling these?
Spiritual items that you want to have in your survival kit.
kits.
There's so many, and the last one that I would add, just for today at least, is a blessed candle. You know, the church blesses candles every February 2nd on the feast of the presentation of the Lord to remind us of the light that shines in the darkness. You don't have to only bless them on that day. You can bring a candle to your priest.
What day was that again?
February 2nd, the feast of the presentation of the Lord. And it's good to have a blessed candle in your house to light during times of difficulty, to light during prayer, to create a sacred space, to light during storms, to light in sickness. to remind you that Christ's presence, even when darkness surrounds us, is constantly there.
Father Jeff, Jackie just walked in and alarmed me that it is 10:35.
It is 10:35. We have been talking nonstop.
We can either continue to go on or cut it off for today. We still had more things we planned to talk about, but that means we could just come back tomorrow.
We will probably, we're planning on doing this for the next several days, just to have a morning talk show to kind of gather the community together, invite your friends, tell them to watch. We'll now that we've figured out how to get our comments shown to us, we'll be able to interact with you more each day. So we'll try to keep it to a 10 to 10:30 time frame-ish, and go from there.
Yep, and I'll just close with two things. I think Jackie is posting our Mass schedule that we are streaming, and we also have updated our confession schedule here.
Yes. So confessions, individual confessions, are not prohibited. So a communal penance service we wouldn't gather for, but confessions are still available. And so I've updated the confession schedule. It's on our website. It went out in an email today to all of our members. And so if you didn't get that, contact the parish office so that we can update your email. But I'm doing it by 2 weeks at a time so that we can, in case, things are changing every day. When you come for confessions, I'll be in the confessional during the posted times. We just ask that you maintain space in the church. Don't be crowding on each other while you're waiting in line. Give each other space. And we will hear confessions like normal. This is a time of purification. And not only do we purify ourselves, we will purify the church, and we'll purify the whole wide world.
All right. Amanda asks if people want to get things blessed, salt candles, etc., how should we go about that since it's discouraged to walk into the office?
If you are not sick, definitely come on in. You can come in and have items blessed. So if you want to have that salt blessed, if you want to have that water blessed, come in. Don't drop them off for me to bless and then have you come pick up later. It's always ideal to have the person who is receiving the blessed item present for the blessing. So bring items to the office here. I'm probably going to be around, and we will bless those for you.
Matt asks if there's any way there are remote blessings during these times.
The remote blessing. So the church's teaching is if you participate in a live presentation of a blessing or a prayer, so if you are watching Mass live streamed as it is happening, and when the priest gives the blessing at that time, your participation with that Mass, you receive the blessing at that time. If you would turn on the television live and watch the Holy Father from Rome give the apostolic blessing on the high feast days, you would receive the papal blessing because you are participating in it live. So when you participate in something live, the blessing of an object, not remotely. That has to happen face to face. But as a person, your soul is not bound by space or time, and so your soul is able to receive that blessing communicated through the airwaves.
Well, with that, do you want to close us in maybe a quick prayer and a blessing for all the people watching?
Let us do that. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, during this time of uncertainty and precaution, we ask the comfort of your presence to be with us. May your Spirit surround us. May he keep us safe. May he promote the unity that is found in your church. And may he lead us safely through these trials to better times. And may the blessing of Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit come down upon you and remain with you all forever.
Amen.
We will see you tomorrow morning.
All right. Have a good one. God bless.